خواستم چیز ببینم، اینو ببینم حاجی. جریریک اوریثینگ، این حاجی این یارو رو من خیلی دوست دارم. یارو دیوونه هم هست حقیقتا، چرا دروغ. کارش میدونی چه کارش؟ اینه کلا هر چی دستش میاد رو باز میکنه. کلیت بفروشی نمیتونی بخری. کلیت چند الان قیمت کردی؟ من کلیم تمیزه حاجی، عرق مرق اینا هیچ چی نخورم، سیگارم نکشیدم، یه تاثیر بذاره درس شوشام هم میتونم. این یارو دیوونه است حاجی، همه چی رو میگیره انگولک باز میکنه. خب من میخوام ببینم توی استیم ماشین رو باز کرده چیه. کلا هم 6 دقیقه است ویدیوش. استیم ماشین حاجی خیلی کوچیکه، چقدر بهتون بگم درست بگم، مثلا حاجی ابعادش کنم اینقدر، مثلا این چیز خیلی کوچیکه، مثلا اندازه هیچ هم نداره. اندازه مثلا مودم دیدید مثلا هر طولش چقدره، مثلا ارتفاع هم اونطوری کنید تقریبا اونطوریه، خیلی کوچیکه جمع جوره.
The steam machine is going to confuse quite a few grandmas out there looking to buy a new iron and confuse quite a few millennials who thought gaming was going to be more affordable when they got older. Inside this cardboard box
خوراک این جاکشایی که میگن من لپتاپ بخوام چون پی سی رو نمیتونی همه جا ببری، بگیرین تو کسشر نگو. خب تخمشه داری لپتاپ بخری 200 میلیون بذاری تو کیفت همه جا ببری، کسکش.
pre-built desktop computer designed by Valve to bring PC gaming to your living room TV and it starts at $1,049. We have an HDMI cord and a power cord in the box, but no controller. That would cost $100 more. But the box is rather exquisite. The accordionated cardboard is definitely worth every.
کنترلر نداره رو نیستم. به نظرم باید یه کنترلر باشه دیگه. یعنی چی کنترلر چرا نداره؟ به عنوان گیمینگ کنسول دارن میفروشن تقریبا یه جورایی دیگه. باکسش جالبه ولی چه عجیبه.
The steam machine stands at 6 inches tall, which is massive.
6 inch. نزدیک.
It's larger than the Steam Deck, that's to be sure, and 6 times more powerful
چقدر
than its
پلاستیکشو دوست ندارم. نه بال بود نه
It
بال.
also has a magnetical, removable, customizable faceplate, and we'll come back to this later. The rest of the Tesseract includes a large fan with its hexagonal grill.
اینو نباید لورستان ببری آجی، خطرناکه، ممکنه بگیرم پرت کنم. چقدر خوشگله ولی پشتش هم
port, HDMI power port, Ethernet and USB-C port.
کابلش خیلی کمه ولی خب میتونی هندلش کنی.
At first I thought taking apart the steam machine was going to be difficult.
این پاورر میبینم یه ریشتراش 1 میلیونی میافتم
شته. And they would probably throw us a nice boner too inside. And it looks like I was right. On the bottom we find 4 visible rubberized T8 screw feetsies that I can take out. The rubber washer stays captive and there's a small dab of blue thread locker to hold the screws in place. Once those 4 pads are gone, I can flip her over to that back fan and unscrew 2 more T8 screws at the top. These are captive.
من کیس به این گندگی رو میخوام واکنم کنم یه دونه پیش داره، چه گویی دارید میخورید که 4 تا پیش داره فقط.
Locked into the panel, so they are impossible to lose, just like we see inside of the framework laptop, which is almost the same price. The back grill can lift up and out from the frame, exposing 3 more screws holding the rest of the computational hardware inside the box. And that's it. If all you want to do is clean the dust out of your steam machine, then this is probably as far as you need to go. A few soft blasts of compressed air should get all the dust out of the aluminum fins. And there are 53 of those fins if you are curious. Not really, but thanks. Flipping it over again to the underside, we have access to the M.2 SSD. This is the long-term hard drive storage where the Steam operating system and all your games are stored on. If you want to expand the brain to 2 or 4 terabytes, you'll need to clone this drive, but that's beyond the scope of our budget. And the
اینطوری هم مگه داریم؟
Scope of this teardown.
از کجا
we'll put them right
بخرین؟
back in for safekeeping. One cool thing that Valve has done is to separate the Wi-Fi from the Bluetooth antennas. You can see all these little wires heading out to each of the corners of the box. 2 wires are for the Wi-Fi 6, the other is for Bluetooth, and the 4th is for the Steam Deck controllers, which are also way out of my budget right now, so I'll be trying to connect telepathically. This guy right here is for the LED strip in the front. When you peel up the lips, it kind of snarls at you in a creepy, weird little way with its LED teeth. Let's never do that again. I'll remove 4 more screws holding down the Lego-style ribbon connectors. If we want to see the cooling system and the processor, we'll have to set these to the side. We do have to completely remove the USB-C and Ethernet port board, since there is 1 more fan screw hiding behind it. The USB-C port is impressively long, not used. مثلا وسط یه فن گنده است، اصلا مادربرد. And I'll remove 1 last fan screw and unplug that fan from the motherboard.
کلش فنه، می‌بینی اصلا
The space in here is used incredibly efficiently, Cool air gets pulled in from the bottom vent and front panel vent, and then the hot air gets blasted out of the back of the steam deck after traveling through the fins and passing the vapor chamber. I'll remove 4 more screws holding the
مینی
heatsink and
ناموسم
motherboard
مینی
to
M2
the power
داریم.
supply. The Lego-style ribbon cables we unplugged earlier also have to be unstuck from the sides of the power supply.
ای بابا.
And there it is. The backside of the motherboard, with its
پشمام.
RAM now
چه
visible
رم داره
and
باز؟
very upgradable. We'll get to that in a
بس
second.
خوش.
First, I'll pop open the power supply. This guy has 4 silver screws of its own, and once the
چقدر
top gets lifted
پیچ
off, we
داره.
see globs and globs of
چقدر
some hard
عجیب.
plasticky compound. It
چه
looks like a
باحاله.
Jigglypuff porta-potty. The stiff plasticky potting material
برای
helps keep the
گرما
coils
هم.
and capacitors from snapping off when you throw the steam machine in your backpack. It also helps
اوه برای اینه که تکون نخورن نه برای گرما نیست. چرا
eliminate the
گفتم پلاستیک اصلا آی
electromagnetic
چیز نیست.
vibrations and
اصولا.
reduce the high-pitched coil whine that some people hear when electronics turn on. But one thing I know about capacitors is that I don't want to be anywhere near them. So I'll pop the lid back on and make my way back to the motherboard.
چسب
If you
سیلیکون
look here
نه
in the
چسب
corner of the
نیست.
power supply, it has 2 female
یعنی سیلیکون
receivers
نیست
that
پلاستیکه.
correspond with male prongs on the motherboard. And this is how the power supply
یعنی
transfers
که
its power
دیدی مثلا دسته اینطوری می‌کنید بعضی وقتا صدا میداد اینا اینو گذاشون داخل که صدا نده اصلا این ور میذاری.
onto the circuits. I have 16
Keep
gigs of RAM
کرده.
in my Steam machine, and if you have the funds available, adding a second 16 gig
آخه حرارت رو میگم سیلیکون چون سیلیکون حرارت میده.
stick to the other slot would
انتقال میده. این
unlock the dual
پلاستیکه.
channel bandwidth, and it might boost your frame
16
rates by about 15%.
5600
But to buy that RAM, you'll probably have to mortgage your house. I'm just kidding. Nobody has a house. Valve has been nice enough to number the screws on the back of the CPU cooler.
کمدیش دیگه ته کمدی بود لاشی گفتش که برای اینکه رمو بخونی باید پول خونه‌تون رو بدیدیم رمو بخرید. بعد گفتن شوخی میکنم هیچ که الان خونه نداره.
And even color code the springs on the CPU bracket. We have
چقدر
silver,
باحاله
black,
ولی همش
green, blue,
کاستومه.
orange, and pink anodized springs. It's kind of cool, and I feel sad for people who aren't subscribed. They don't get to learn all these fun things. And
زنم
then finally,
سابسکرایبش دارم ناراحتم که نداشتم.
we can lift the motherboard away from the CPU cooler. And yes, the
نگاه
cooler takes up
خمیرشو.
the vast majority of the space inside of the Steam machine. We see gobs and gobs of pink thermal paste sitting on top of both the AMD processor, and even more thermal paste chilling the 8 gigs of VRAM for the
چقدر خمیر
AMD
سیلیکون
GPU.
زدن.
And we get our closer look at the
تا
copper vapor
ناموس.
chamber snaking through the aluminum fins as it tries to quietly dissipate the heat generated from that main board.
کلش میبینی کل
It's
هیچی
fitting,
نیست
I guess, that the
همش
Steam
فنه.
machine would use the steamy vapor
یعنی
in the
اگه یه
heat pipe
روزی
for cooling.
یه
But
سی
with
پیو
how
خیلی
cool
قوی تر
liquid
بیاد
cooling
فن
is
نخواد
getting
این
these
واسه
days, the
اندازه این
Steam
گوشی
machine
برات
box
میسازن.
could probably be half this size if it was liquid cooled, like what we saw on the red Magic
یه رم یه
Astro
سی
2
پیو یه
gaming
SSD
tablet.
اصلا دو تا
Maybe the next
چیز بخور.
generation will be even smaller. To be honest, I'm kind of shocked at how easy this was to take apart. The Steam machine has basically one screw type, and I
ولی
could upgrade the RAM
برگردوندنش
in
کار
about
حضرت
10
فیله
minutes
حاجی.
if the data centers weren't hogging it all. Not bad. Not bad at all. With the Steam machine slotted back into
خب
the exterior
برگشت
housing
الان
and
میخواد
the
زنشو
little rubber
بگاد.
feetsies screwed back into the base, it's time to see if the Steam machine still turns on. Personally, I think the best mod
چه
anyone
خوشگل.
can make
اون
is
قرار
their
نیست
black
زنشو
box
بگاد فقط باز کرد. چه عجب حاجی
is
حالم
to
بد
bring the
نشد.
insides to the outsides. With my
اینو ببینید گوشیشو ترانسپرنتوریه میدونین چیز کرده پشتشو باز کرده حالت ترانسپرنتش کرده فکر کنم توی مایه چیزی میذارن رنگ چیز میره انگار شفاف میشه. PC فرم فاکتور مینی اومده. من باید ببینم مادربردم چی از اگزو خریدم بعد بعدا لوگین کنم ببینم مادربردم دقیق چیه بعد یه کیس کوچیک‌تر بگیرم. کیسم خیلی گنده دوست ندارم.
D brands extra
خیلی گنده نیست ولی خب ATX دیگه ATX عادیه. ما خب مثلا مینیو بگیرم عشق کنم.
gray skins. The skins come in both light and dark versions showing the
خوشگله.
actual metallurgical x-rays of the actual insides. Or,
باحال.
you know, if gaming is your world, you can square earth your box to better
اینو
pwn
دوست
the whole
ندارم.
planet. Link is down in the description. I
چرا
got a
آفریقا
clean
باید جلو
screen hooked
باشه؟
up to my Steam machine, and then I'll hit the power button, and just like that, I can turn the whole world on, all in a day's work. If we get 50,000 likes, I'll
مانیتور
sell a
لاتی
kidney
داره.
and take apart the Steam Deck controller and